Hello, 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 folks. Welcome to a live stream of Holy Land Tours. We're going to take you on a magical journey wherever you live, all the way to the legendary country of Armenia. That's right. This is where Noah's Ark has landed on the slope of Mount Ararat, and this is where you're going to enjoy our spiritual or religious tours. So we want to welcome you to the original Holy Land where Noah descended Mount Ararat and pitched his tent near the river Arax by the Arax village, what is known today as the Arax village, in the country of Armenia. That's right, and it's the first Christian nation that accepted Christianity 1700 years ago, folks, 1,700 years ago, in the year of 301 Anno Domini, which means in the year of our Lord in Latin. And the reason why I always say AD or Anno Domini is because, folks, there is a kind of a new trend where the New Age people try to minimize our belief system as Christians, and they use the abbreviation CE, which means Common Era. That's right. AD, they try to replace with CE for Common Era, and because they cannot stand the words of in the year of our Lord. And before Christ, BC, they use another abbreviation. It's a little bit longer. It's BCE. They call it Before Common Era. So to combat this consistent trend, folks, I do, and I highly recommend you do the same if you're a Christian. As a fellow Christians, let's start using, after the date, always use the words Anno Domini or simply AD. That will telegraph to the world that we are still Christians, we still follow Christ, and we're not going to tolerate these new trends of the zeitgeist. Zeitgeist is the English word of German origin, which means the spirit of the age that tries to dictate to us how we should live outside of the biblical norms. So, folks, you will see the first Christian church, the world's first Christian church or cathedral, that is 1,700 years old. It's called Echmiadzin. And the word, Armenian word Echmiadzin, is translated into English as the descent of the only begotten, meaning Son of God. So if you speak a little bit of Greek, monogenes. Monogenes is the Greek word for only begotten. But Echmiadzin means a little bit more than that. It means the descent of the only begotten Son of God. We'll also take you to the world's oldest observatory. It's called Karahunj. Karahunj has been carbon dated to be 7,500 years old. That's right, folks. Karahunj is 3,000 years older than the Stonehenge in England. You heard me right. We'll also take you to the world's tallest statue of Jesus Christ at Mount Hatis. We'll also show you the Spear of Destiny, also known as Saint Longinus' Spear. Longinus was the name of the Roman centurion who later became a saint. And folks, in those days, it was the job of the centurions to make sure that the people that were crucified, which was a standard punishment in the Roman Empire, they would be tested before they would be taken down from the cross. They didn't want to take people who were still alive because they might just sort of, if you will, wander off and heal. If they were not badly maimed, they could still. There were cases where people would be basically pretending to be dead, and they would be taken down, and they would not be dead. Basically, they would be walking around. So, in order to make sure that the person was dead for sure, with 100% certainty, before they would take down the bodies from those crosses, they would pierce their sides, and they knew the person was dead if nothing would come out. However, if water or blood would come out, or a combination of the two, they knew that the person was still alive. And they would let them stay on the cross for another few hours or another day. And so it was Saint Longinus' turn to pierce the side of Jesus. And St. Longinus was blind on one eye, folks. According to tradition, the story tells us that he was blind on one eye. His left eye was blind. He could not see through his left eye. And when he pierced Jesus' side, blood got into his face. And he was miraculously cured, folks. He began to see from his left eye, from his blind eye. And his words, his exclamation was recorded in the Bible. His words were most famously known as the proclamation of the divinity of Christ by a pagan person. That's right, folks. St. Longinus said, truly, this man was the Son of God. And he was a pagan, folks. St. Longinus he believed in many gods, but from the depth of his soul, he knew this was no ordinary man. And so you will see this spear of destiny that used to be held at the Gerhard Monastery, but now it's held at the Etchmiadzin Cathedral. We're going to show it to you. So we'll also show you the world's oldest settlement outside of the capital city, which is Yerevan. There was a settlement discovered. It was a pre-pottery era settlement, which means it was carbon dated to be 12,000 years old. The earliest known human settlement, just outside the city limits of Yerevan, the capital of Armenia. Dr. Hakob Simonyan, the chief archaeologist at the Institute of Archaeology, was called in one day to go and check it out, because the chief engineer, her name is Tatev, who called him and alerted him of this rare discovery of this sort of a Erebuni-like fortress. Erebuni is another fortress that is 3,000 years old that we're going to take you to so you can see it. But this particular structure is 12,000 years old, folks. Can you imagine the antiquity, folks? It's 7,000 years older than the Erebuni fortress that we're going to go see, where you'll see cuneiform writing at the Erebuni fortress that declares the city of Erebuni as the capital of the ancient kingdom of Urartu, or what later became Armenia. Armenia used to be called Armina, and that's why so many Armenian women have this name that's given to them at birth. Many Armenian women are called Armina. So you will get to see the world's oldest settlement that is 12,000 years old, just outside of the city limits of Yerevan. And then you will see the longest aerial tramway at Tatev. Notice the same name, right? The Tatev Monastery, just like the architect's name. Tatev is the tramway, the cable is 5.7 kilometers or 3.5 miles long. It's the world's longest aerial tramway in existence today. I believe it's 10 years in a row. You're going to see Etchmiadzin, that is 1,700 years old. You'll see Mount Ararat from a distance, but if you wish, we'll take you up there to see Noah's Ark up close and personal. If you want to risk your life, we'll take you there. Mount Ararat is over 5,000 meters tall. However, the weather changes on a dime. It goes from a perfect, sunny, beautiful weather into a terrible thunderstorms with thunderclaps and thunderbolts hitting the mountain something like 200 times per minute or something like that. It's horrific, because at that altitude, folks, you're walking into the thunderstorm that happens, like I said, on the dime. So if you want to risk your life, we'll take you there. We have some professionally trained guides who will take you there and show you the mountain up close and personal. But if you just want to take a look at it from the distance, from the foothills, you'll see Mount Ararat up close from almost anywhere, from many places in Armenia. You could just enjoy it and take pictures without going up there all the way. And that might be something you would want to do unless you want to bring an oxygen tank with you, because you might need oxygen tanks at that altitude. This altitude sickness, and if you're not in a tip-top shape, then you may want to just look at the mountain from a distance. So what else, folks? We're going to share with you the agape meditation. used by the Essenes. The Essenes were the last known group of religious people who essentially practiced the same level of faith and miracle work that Jesus commanded us to have. Jesus said, I'm going to my Father and I'll send you a comforter, and this comforter will tell you more things, and you shall be able to do the same miracles I've done, even greater things, folks. Jesus said even greater. What did he do? Well, as you know, he walked on water, and then Peter followed him right out of the boat. That he saw that Jesus walking on water, and he followed him by stepping out of the boat. So we'll teach you how to do that. Jesus healed the sick. He cast out demons, and he raised the dead. And we'll be sharing with you this agape meditation so you could try to do the same. At least try, folks. Because Jesus said we should be able to do those things, all those things, even greater things. And if you can't do any of those, well, then there's a problem. We're going to attempt to fix that big problem that separates you from the frequency of God. That's right, folks. It's a simple meditation where you put your left hand on a tree and you try to meditate on the frequency of the tree first. And then you transition to the frequency of God, and then you're able to essentially walk on water and then begin to heal the sick and then cast out demons and then raise the dead. Levitation is also, we're going to teach you that. That's one of the not so complicated things. You can levitate 5 to 10 inches from the ground. Anything above it would be unsafe, because the slightest sort of distraction, you would flop down to the ground like a cat. And it's better to flop down from 5 inches than from 50 meters up in the air. So anyway, folks, this is what we're going to share with you. We'll show you the Jacob's Ladder. There are lots of UFO sites in Armenia and Skinwalker Range, similar to Skinwalker Range type of anomalous zones. Like there's a Skinwalker Range. If you don't know about it, just look it up, in Utah, in the U.S. state of Utah. Skinwalker Ranch was purchased by Bob Bigelow, the aerospace engineer, for $125 million. And it has a team of scientists recording the anomalous events. The anomalies are the portals that open and close with some unknown beings that are being videotaped and recorded. You can find it on YouTube, folks, in 4K resolution. You could watch it on YouTube on the Discovery Channel. They have a special that goes live every so often. Millions of people watch it. The Skinwalker Range is a name according to the Indian tribe. That's what they call those anomalous events in the native language. I believe it's the Navajo language or the Iroquois language. It's in their language, the Skinwalker. That's what it means, literally translated into English. But I don't remember what it sounds like in their language. So anyway, lots of UFO sites and places where you could take a picture of them. And Jacob's Ladder are those portals, stargates, like at the Skinwalker Range, that will show you in many, many places across Armenia. So what else? We'll teach you the ancient keywords in Armenian, in Greek, in Babylonian, in Sumerian, in Akkadian, and even in the Ubaid language. Ubaid tribes were the earliest known people that came before the Sumerians. That's right, folks. There was pre-Sumerian type of Ubaid civilization. They called their god Dingir. That's right. That's the word in ancient Ubaidian language and Sumerian language, Dingir. And Amigi. Amigi is a key word in their civilization that meant freedom. And see, they didn't call themselves Sumerian. They called themselves Kengir. So Kengir is Sumerian, or the sort of a local area where they lived in the local language, Kengir. And they call themselves as people Sagig. So Sagig is the Sumerian word for the black-headed people, because they had black head, folks. They had black heads. Whereas some other civilizations who lived nearby, they shaved their heads. They didn't have any hair, in other words. So Sagig is the name of the that they basically what they describe, what they call themselves. Dilmun is the place where gods created the human beings. It's an advanced, technologically advanced laboratory where genetically engineered primates were caught on planet Earth, and then they were genetically engineered into modern Homo sapiens, or modern human beings. They're called Dilmun. So Dilmun is the Sumerian word for the place where human beings were created by the gods, which they called Anunnaki. That's the Sumerian word for the gods from above. And by the way, it's an interesting concept. Their word for heaven, interesting concept, folks. The Sumerian word for heaven would be actually would sound like the combination of earth and sky, because they saw the earthly journey or earthly life as a inherently connected to the heavenly realm. They never saw it as a separate thing, and that's why the word for heaven, in their language, in their understanding of the universe, it was a combination of earth, anu eki, earth and sky, and that's what they called paradise in their concept, or the place, a better place to go to when the physical bodies would die. And so the Ubaidian civilization, folks, it predates by thousands and thousands of years the Sumerian civilization. So that these are our conjecture, our hypothesis is this 12,000-year-old civilization, that means settlement that was found outside of city limits of Yerevan, the capital of Armenia, belongs to this Ubaidian civilization, or Ubaidian people. And it's the archaeologists agree this is the earliest known living civilization. This is long. This is after the Neanderthals, folks. This is just only about 12,000 years ago. This is not thousands of years. This is not 400,000 years. This is 12,000 years ago. Not that long ago. But it was before the flood, folks. And what they found at that settlement, folks, obsidian knives, spear tips, very sharp spear tips, very sharp knives, and very sharp skin scrapers. That's right, folks. They would scrape the skins of woolly mammoths that roamed the earth in that area about 12,000 years ago, because all the continents were kind of joined together, and we didn't have this sort of a North America, Eurasian separation. Remember where Alaska meets Siberia today? It was joined together, folks. That was 12,000 years ago. 12,000 years you can walk across that channel. I mean, it was joined together. You didn't need a boat, folks. It wasn't separated by 63 miles or something like that. It was just, you could walk through it. It was connected, folks. It was one continent, essentially. All the continents were joined together at that time. It's before the catastrophic events of the the massive volcanic eruptions and earthquakes that separated the continents. That's long before that. So anyway, it was more or less together, and so it was a different geography, different topography, and different understanding of the world, and so different climate, completely different climate, folks. They didn't have rain at that time, and the humidity from the earth was kind of coming up, and being sort of would come up and moisten the all the plants and the trees, and it was a completely different concept. They've never seen rain before at that time, folks. This is how old this is. And then when the Sumerian civilization came, they were constantly watching the skies. For them, the skies were the way the planets moved, the stars moved. They were fascinated by that, because they said, this creator who put it all together, that's the mighty, mighty, mighty sort of force that could do no wrong. If they can govern the celestial bodies, such as planets, stars, and nebulae and comets, then we should learn from them. We should follow in their footsteps, so to speak. Meaning, for them, calendars. By the way, Sumerians created our 365-day calendar. They separated time into 24 hours. The hour was separated into 60 minutes. They created the first wheel, folks. The wheel was created by the Sumerians. Mathematics was created by the Sumerians. Observation, the first astronomical observations and writing system was created by Sumerians. The cuneiform Sumerian writing system was the first known writing system that was passed on later, absorbed by the Akkadians, who were a little bit more aggressive, and unfortunately they did so many not so nice things to the Sumerians, who were very kind people compared to the Akkadians. And then came the Babylonians. Babylonian language is the dialect of Akkadian. Then they structured the language further. And again, Babylonians were not so nice to the Akkadians. They absorbed them. I'm going to use this nice word for, instead of using the word kill them, they absorbed them. So the Ubadians were the original Sumerian people. The Sumerians were absorbed by the Akkadians. The city of Akkad, and that civilization came down. It was just a few hundred miles, and they, quote unquote, absorbed them. Or the Sumerians got absorbed by the Akkadians because they were a more violent group of people. The Akkadians were more violent than Sumerians. Sumerians had very big eyes, and they were just constantly in all of the statues. If you look at them, they were in a posture of praying mantises. They were in a praying position to the gods up high, or to the god up high. They believed in personal Jesus, what the Depeche Mode song, if you remember the song from the 90s or the 2000s, the personal Jesus. They believed in the personal deity, is what they believed in, folks. That was constantly given or assigned to each individual personal deity that would guide you, protect you. And they also had two separate guardian angels. Every human being came into this world with two separate guardian angels who would protect you from physical and spiritual harm. And the personal Jesus, or the personal deity, that was your consciousness, that was your alter ego, your alter self, your sort of higher being, your muse, is a real spiritual, to them, to the Sumerians, was a real spiritual being that was essentially there as your personal AI assistant, like the artificial intelligence, like your ChatGPT 5.1, 6.1, 7.1, or Copilot, if you like Microsoft better, or Gemini, Google's Gemini, or whatever, Grok, if you like Twitter or X. So anyway, that personal deity was your personal assistant and guide on this journey. And that's what Sumerians believed. And they were very, 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 very sympathetic and very kind and smart, and just they were into astronomy, mathematics, and like I said, they created the wheel, they divided the sky, they divided into 12 months, 60 minutes, 365 days, and it was just marvelous. Just, that's absolutely fascinating. There was nothing, and then all of a sudden the civilization happened. And we have today over 125,000 clay tablets from that era, from Sumerian tablets, that we were able to translate into modern languages, into English and all other languages. So, and they used cuneiform writing system. What they would do is they would have wet clay, and they would write with a certain sticks in a certain way. I mean, consistently. It was a language, folks. It's before the hieroglyphic writing in China and Egypt. It's long before. This is like, folks, this is antiquity. This is about 5,500 years ago to 6,000 years ago. That's when the Sumerians left their 120,000 clay tablets for us to read. Unfortunately, half of them were just recently made public. They were held by a Scandinavian billionaire in his private collection. I mean, he hoarded all those tablets, and we just finally discovered these precious, 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 precious Sumerian tablets that shed so much light that he held in his personal private collection in, I'm not going to name it, you just research yourself if you're interested in that. But it's a Scandinavian billionaire, had thousands and thousands of those key, most important, vitally important to history and understanding, human evolution and civilizations, ancient civilizations, in his private collection. So finally he made them public, he shared them, and now we know so much more about the Sumerian civilization. It was remarkable. Anyway, Akkadians came, they absorbed the Sumerians, then Babylonians came. Babylonian became the dialect of Akkadian language. They absorbed the Babylonians absorbed the Akkadians. And by the way, they all shared this base. The foundation was the cuneiform writing system from the Sumerians. So both the Akkadians and the Babylonians used a very, very, very similar cuneiform writing system. To you, you may not be able to tell them apart, but to an experienced linguist, there are slight differences between them, very slight. But anyway, basically the same. So then the Babylonians came and they absorbed the Akkadians, and then came another ruthless, ruthless tribe or civilization. The Assyrians came, folks, and the Assyrians did all kinds of not so nice things, horrible things. The first genocide was, I would attribute to the Assyrians. They did just horrible things to the Babylonians. So Babylonian Empire was very famous. It was phenomenal, but the Assyrians really by force and by just just brutal force, they just basically absorbed the, I'm going to use this nice language, unfortunately absorbed and did so many not nice things to the Babylonians. Anyway, and then the Assyrians got replaced with, anyway, folks, I could go on and on for 80 hours non-stop, and this is what we're going to share with you on a tour of Armenia. So how do you get here to Armenia, folks? How do you come to see Mount Ararat? How do you follow in the footsteps of Noah, that we call Saint Noah or simply Papa Noah? Folks, you come here by contacting us first. You could do so by going to a website, which is very simple. It's holybible.tours. That's right. It's not .com. It's .tours, plural, with an S at the end. So just go to www.holybible.tours and send us an electronic message. Or if your fingers are itching, you could just text us, folks. This is a North American phone number, 1-646-504-9323. That's right. You can send us a text message anytime, and our team will respond very promptly. 1-646-504-9323. Just let us know when you'd like to come to Armenia. We'll make a custom itinerary for you. We'll take you to Karahunj, first, the world's oldest observatory that's 7,500 years old. The first Christian church at Echmiadzin, which is 1,700 years old. We'll show you the village of Araks, where Noah pitched his tent, right by the Araks River, or as they call it in Persian and Greek and Sumerian, the Araxes River, which is, by the way, the Araxes River, folks, is the oldest. It's the river of life. That's what it means, basically. It's the source of all life. That's the meaning of the river. Is basically this is the most symbolically important river in the world, because this is where Noah essentially pitched his tent and repopulated the entire planet Earth. Okay, so it's very, very important. We'll take you to the world's tallest statue of Jesus Christ in Armenia, located on Mount Hatis. Armenia is very safe. There's no crime. It's very clean, safe. I mean, literally no crime. If you have little children with you, you could just let them roam 24/7 on the streets of Armenia. They'll be completely safe. If you might think that you lost them, all the concerned citizens of Armenia, both men and women, will gather around them like hens and roosters. They will immediately find your child if you happen to lose your child. God forbid, of course, but I'm just telling you how it is in Armenia. And all of these parents will immediately gather around your child, keep him or her safe, contact the police right away, and contact you. And if your child can sort of state their name or even last name, within minutes you'll get a phone call from the front desk at your hotel stating that your child has been found. It takes only minutes, folks. That's what happens in Armenia. So children are very watchful. We operate as a big, gigantic family. That's been like that since the days of Noah. That's what makes us so different, the country of Armenia and the Armenian people. We keep the traditions from the times of Noah, that we call, again, Papa Noah. Family is very important. The nucleus of a family is absolutely crucial. And because Armenia is the first Christian nation that accepted Christianity in 301 Anno Domini, we carry this tradition to this day, folks. So do not worry. Again, Armenia is the safest country in the world. There is virtually no crime. Very clean, safe, and respectable. Most people, okay, so what languages are spoken in Armenia? Armenian, Russian, and English. These are the three most commonly spoken languages. So, of course, everybody speaks Armenian. Many people speak Russian, And quite a few people speak English, especially the younger generation, people who are 30 and younger. They will be more than likely, they would be able to communicate fluently to you. If you ever happen to want to speak to the locals, you just talk to them in English, folks. And if it's a younger person, they'll answer to you in English. If it's an older person, 40 plus, they'll be speaking either Russian or either Armenian or Russian. So if you, yeah. And we'll teach you a few keywords in Armenian, Russian, and in Greek and Latin and Sumerian and Akkadian and Babylonian, folks, and Assyrian. Why? Because you'll come home with a rich vocabulary of keywords. For example, folks, I'm going to share with you just a few words in Armenian, just to give you the taste of it, what it sounds like. My favorite word in Armenian is, I'm going to start it with a question, folks. How do you think we say in Armenian the Bible? Do you think it's the Bible, Biblios, Biblia, Biblioteca? What do you think it is? Biblioteca, by the way, it's in Greek. It means the library. But no, folks, it's not Biblia. It's, so in Armenian, folks, the word for God is Astvats. And the word for the Bible is Astvats Ashunj. So Astvats Ashunj literally means in English, God breathed, or the breath of God, or possibly the combination of both. So Astvats Ashunj might become your favorite word in Armenian. It means the Bible, or God breathed literally. So thank you would be Shnorakalutsun. In Greek would be Evharisto. In Russian would be Spasiba or Благодарю. Благодарю is a little bit more kind of a little bit more proper to say Благодарю, because the word Spasiba came from, literally means save me God. That's, I mean, it's a sort of a deep linguistic. In Russian, it's either Spasiba or Благодарю. In Armenian, it's Shnorakalutsun. In Greek, it's Evharisto. And I mean, that should be probably enough of a preview for now, and then we'll teach you all other languages if you're interested in learning these very keywords and all of these ancient languages. So, folks, at this point, I believe I shared with you enough to pique your interest to come to the country of Armenia, so you could climb Mount Ararat with us if you wish. Or you could take a look at it from a distance, and we'll show you where Noah's Ark is. But you'll be at the original Holy Land, folks, because Armenia, again, is where Noah came down Mount Ararat approximately 7,600 years ago. It's very sort of, we didn't have video cameras back then, folks. We didn't have computers or the internet. So it's just an approximation, give or take a few thousand years. Nobody knows for sure, folks. This is just a conjecture. It's our hypothesis, the hypothesis of all the archaeologists and historians. So the most accurate sort of a date, according to multiple sources combined, calculated by a supercomputer. Yes, we use AI for our Bible studies, folks. Is 7,600 years old, folks. Supercomputer sort of pulled all this data together, put it all together, and gave us the answer. So we're going to take you to see Mount Ararat, Noah's Ark, if you wish, the first Christian church, which is a.k.a. Karahunj, 7,500-year-old observatory, the longest aerial trainway at Tatev, 3.5 miles long, and also you'll see St. Longinus' Spear of Destiny at a.k.a. Cathedral. And by the way, when you come to Armenia, to Yerevan, to the airport, we'll pick you up right at the airport and give you our traditional Armenian welcome bear hug. That's how we greet all of our guests in Armenia, unless you have some objections to that, of course, which we hope you won't. So anyway, if you have any culinary requests, we'll be sure to accommodate all of them. If you're vegan or vegetarian, we'll make sure that you'll miss out on a lot of wonderful Armenian cuisine here, Armenian food that entails famous Armenian barbecue that we call horovats. Is absolutely out of this world. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, we'll of course accommodate your culinary needs. Now, let's talk about the money a little bit. We'll discuss money, how much it costs, so there's no mutual mystification about how much it costs, folks. So if money is no object for you, if you'd like to splurge and you require only the very best in life, we'll put you in a villa. So if you can spend $20,000 per week, you'll be staying at a villa with a butler if you require so. Now, if you're on a budget, don't worry. We'll put you in a budget-friendly hotel. If you can only spend a few $1,000s for a week, you'll be staying at a clean, nice, beautiful hotel with a view. And that is our promise to you. You're in a budget, we're going to meet your budget. If money is no object for you and you can spend 20 grand a week, we'll put you in a luxury villa. Whatever you wish, folks, whatever you just let us know. Let us know what your preference is and about your culinary also preferences as well. If you're vegan, vegetarian, please do let us know. Also, Armenia is home to the world's cleanest, best tasting water. So if you want to taste the world's most incredible, cleanest mountain water, you won't be able to. You might want to stay in Armenia forever after you taste Armenian water. I promise you that. So if you were thinking about getting a pied-à-terre after you taste Armenian water from those water fountains all over town, everywhere in Armenia, it's just running for free. And everybody drinks it 24/7, folks. You'll be just amazed. That heavenly touch, folks. It's the glacial water. If you ever tasted glacial water, it's actually 10 times more tasty than the glacial water in Armenia. So, and we'll share with you the agape meditation, as I said, to connect you, to help you connect to the frequency of God. This is a scientific language for getting on the frequency of God, is getting in God's presence. And we believe that if Christ was with us today, he would use this slightly more scientific language, meaning he would speak of the frequency of God instead of just, seeking God. So this is where we are, folks. I hope I piqued your interest. If you're a person of faith, if you're a Christian, most certainly we invite you to the original Holy Land, the country of Armenia. If you're a Muslim, we also would like to extend our invitation to invite you. If you're a spiritual seeker, but of Muslim or Islamic inclination, Islamic faith, we also invite you to come visit Armenia. If you are of Vedic tradition, in other words, if you sing Hare Krishna mantras every day, we also extend our invitation. We want to welcome you in our wonderful country of Armenia, because all are welcome as long as you're a spiritual seeker. We invite all. By the way, Armenia is home to quite a nice Indian community. We have quite a few people from India. That's right. We have people from France. You'll hear a lot of French on the streets of Armenia. You'll hear quite a bit of course, Armenian, Russian, French, Arabic, and a lot of Hindi. People from India that will be speaking Hindi and other languages that they speak. But there is a healthy, nice community of quite a few Indian students that study at many, many Armenian colleges and universities in Yerevan, the capital city of Armenia. I believe 30,000 students and just temporary workers, that 30 or 50,000 students, Indian people live in Armenia, capital city of Armenia, Yerevan. So folks, this is a super quick, super nice, super enthusiastic introduction to the country of Armenia. So check it out. Go to our website to send us a message, www.holybible.tours, or you can simply send us a text if you prefer texting, 1-646-504-9324, 24/7. Send us a message. We'll schedule a tour. We'll invite you over. We'll pick you up at the airport. We'll treat you like family. And perhaps you may never want to leave Armenia, or you want to go back and sell all your stuff and move to Armenia. Many people have done so, folks, from Canada, from Lebanon, from France, from Germany. We have people from Poland. We have people from Russia. We have quite an international population in Armenia. But of course, predominantly it's Armenians speaking Armenian, and then all other languages that I mentioned. So, folks, on this note, I want to wish you all the best. I want to extend my warm invitation to come visit Armenia anytime, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll want to see you in Armenia. So take care. God bless you. And we hope to talk to you and meet you in Armenia very soon. So take care, and we'll see you soon.